Howdy. Oh,
Okay, here we go.
Oh.
Here we go. Here we go. We're gonna have to redo this all again. All right.
Oh, well, it was
Okay.
perfect.
That was perfect. Okay,
Well-
sound all good now. Okay. As you can see, welcome to Dungeoneers Pack Live. I'm not alone this week. We are going to be discussing Fizban's Treasury Dragons. Joining me this week, I have the Trap Master, the Puzzle Master himself, Mr. Wally DM, and Eric from Fry Minis, who is neck deep in Dragons.
Deep in all ways.
Yeah.
Hello. Emotionally, too.
Yeah. All right. So again, happy Halloween, everybody. This is a Halloween. I don't think I've ever experienced a Halloween on a Sunday.
Oh.
That I can actually remember.
Are you going trick or treating?
Oh no, I'm gonna be a COVID bubble boy and just be safe and stay in my apartment.
That's good.
Yeah,
That's
I'm gonna be watching Dune finally. I know it's been out for a week, but I'm gonna catch Dune finally. That's my plans today.
man.
Big fan.
All right, let's see who's all in here today. I got my buddy David. What's going on, man? I got Eric McDaniel, 7-Bit Brian, Rich. What's going on, Rich? Ova D Lamp. Thank you for joining in. Let's see, Jalen Smith and Sanctimus. Thank you guys for coming in and watching the show. Fizban's has been out. Eric, you've had the book for what feels like a month. What, it's been like 2 weeks?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I got it in 2018.
Yeah.
He's had it so long, his name's in the front cover.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fries bands.
Surprise bands, yeah.
That's Treasury Dragons.
Yeah. So we're gonna just jump right into it. Let's go over all the player options. We'll start off with the Drake Warden. What are
Drake Warden.
Yeah. How do you guys necessarily feel about the Drake Warden?
I love it. I think it's great. I think it's super fun. I think the flavor of it is fantastic. The mechanics, I think, are really good. I know a lot of people wish you could fly on it sooner. Guess what? For a lot of people, that's an easy homebrew if you want to go for that. I really like the versatility of it. I'm a big fan. We can talk more, but I don't want to take up the whole spotlight. I'm not used to having 3 people here. I'm so excited. This is so fun.
I mean, seriously though, man, tell us how you feel. Big fan or no? Yes.
It's all right.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, and not to promote anything like right off the bat, but I did just release a Drake Warden video today. Putting it together was absolutely amazing. I've never really picked or played a ranger before, and to go through the things, and the first thing I did, which I hear a lot of ranger players, is hunter's mark. Like, yeah, we can't do that with the Drake Warden. We throw that out. That bonus action that goes to our Drake, because you have to command your Drake with that bonus action.
Dual wielding, yeah.
But by taking out all of those bonus action spells, I was left with a bunch of different spells that are a lot of fun. Summon Beast at 2nd level. I'm moving that Beast in there with my Drake companion. And it is, because it's got pack tactics. And then meanwhile, I'm just back there with arrows. Honestly, I can't wait to play this subclass. It's going to be great.
Yeah, I would agree. Like, the Drake Warden was probably the first subclass I've seen that I'm like, I want to play a ranger finally. And it's not even because of the dragon like theme of it. It's just the mechanics of like how seamless it is compared to the Beastmaster Ranger. That it's just more straight through than and it's more well developed compared to the Beastmaster Ranger. Like, your pet's kind of just there in the Beastmaster Ranger, and then unless you use Tasha's rules, your whole bonus action economy and your regular action economy is just going to be all over the place. And Drake Warden just says, here you go, Charizard. Here's a bonus action. Go use flamethrower, please. Yeah, it's just,
I'm cool with it. And I think the damage scaling for the Drake's actual bite, I think, is good. So you never, or at least I feel like you won't be like, oh, what a disappointing use of my bonus action. Like, if it was only ever doing like 1d6, you'd be like, okay, well, I hate burning my bonus action to that, but I think it's got enough scaling that it's valuable as you progress.
Yeah.
See, I kind of think of it as for a ranged fighter. I mean, it's just going to be a meat shield for me. It's going to have those hit points to suck it up. So even though it's just doing a bite, you've still got that reaction that throws the damage on your attacks. So especially when you get to 5th level, you got 2 arrow attacks. You can use the reaction to add some damage to it. It's going to absorb a lot of hit points, and you don't have to be sad when your Drake dies. You just resummon it and poof, back with a full load of hit points. Get back in there and protect me.
Yeah. Now, I proposed an idea of in my video for it, the summoning it because it's a 30-foot range, right? For its summoning, summoning it up on like a balcony to do stuff that you can't get to is kind of like a cheesy teleport. And I had some comments that said that's not in the spirit of the thing. I think it is in the spirit of the thing. I think it's fun.
Yeah, that's all part of it. It's just finding different ways, little ways, and that necessarily doesn't break the game if you really think about it. It's like it's a little utility thing. It's no worse than the Echo Knight, for the fighter.
I'm not familiar with that. It's been erased from my mind.
Oh,
Echo Drake.
Yeah. All right, we got some comments in the chat regarding the Drake Warden. 7-Bit Brian said Drake Warden alone is great in context with other Ranger subclasses. Specifically, Beastmaster does not seem balanced with those in mind at all. This is literally better than the Beastmaster in every way. When the Tasha's buffs, kind of disappointing on that end, but yes, looking at it alone, it looks fun. Oh, what's going on, Shrike? Thank you for jumping in, buddy. Can everybody come in?
I know 7-Bit Brian. He's a tough cookie. You gotta have some quality content for him to be satisfied.
Yeah, I think the through line that I'm seeing with and we'll get into the monk right now because the monk is but I'm noticing for at least for the both of these subclasses that it's when you get into the later levels, there's it seems like that's where they get all the cool stuff immediately up front. Obviously, you should front load your subclasses, but as soon as they introduce the later features, they kind of have a bit of a downer. Like not you have to wait so long to ride the Drake for the Drake Warden, and then right now when we'll get into the monk right now, it's especially with those later features, they're a little rough.
Before we switch over to monk, can I give a special appreciation to that there's finally a cool magic bow that isn't Oathkeeper that pairs perfectly with the Drake Warden.
Yeah.
Like if I'm playing a Drake Warden, I'm telling my DM I want one item. You can do whatever else you want. Just please find a way to get me this bow.
Yep. I think the only proposed change I would make to the Drake Warden is just bringing the flight down to the feature prior. Like if they would have just did that, I think it's level 11?
11, right?
Yeah, just bring the flight down to level 11 because most players will get level 6 or level 5 to level 7 that will have access to flight, right? And you have to wait pretty much till level 15.
Not me. I took the Topaz Gem Dragonborn for my race to build it, and so you get that little bit of flight there at level 5. So yeah, not as important.
How do you feel about the spell list? I saw tons and tons of comments. Well, why didn't we get bonus spells? I'm okay with it. I think you're getting so much out of that Drake that it's a balance.
I think it's a valid complaint because you get it with the Artificer of the I think it's the Battlesmith Artificer. They get a a spell list and they get their pet. But I think in terms of balance wise, the Drake is just better than the Battlesmith Artificer's pet.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So. As somebody who has 1 to 20 to Battlesmith, I can tell you.
Yeah, because the Drake Warden's pet itself, the Drake, they can use a reaction to add damage to somebody else, not just yourself, but to anybody in 30 feet of it. So even if you're sitting back 120 to 60 feet back, you're popping arrows, you're not close to it enough, but your monk or your fighter, your paladin get that extra bonus damage. Plus the breath weapon, and then the utility of being able to fly. And then your Battlesmith Artificer is just, my pet is just there.
Now, Wally, how do you make a trap that can't be triggered by me just throwing my Drake at it and resummoning it?
I've got ways. You just wait. Someday I'll teach you.
But overall, everybody's in favor of the Drake Warden.
Big fan of that one.
All right, well, the monk. So Way of the Ascended Dragon Monk was somewhat of a fix to the Way of the Four Elements. As we're seeing in monk design, they're starting to move away from really using key heavily as a resource for their subclass features. In some ways, I think the Astral Self Monk is a little bit of the exception because you have to use key to activate your astral self. But we saw it in the way the Mercy, we see it in now in the way the Ascended Dragon. But somehow everybody still feels it's a bit underwhelming. So necessarily, what do you guys think? What would be the fix for this thing?
Not have your 17th level feature be equivalent to a first level fighter or a feat.
Yeah, blind sight. You get a reduced blind sight down to an aura of 10 feet. It was originally 30, right? And
Yeah.
in the UA, they brought it down to 10 feet. I mentioned this in this week's my monk video. Was it's a level 1 fighting style feature for the fighter.
Yeah, and I think it starts off so strong. Like if you're only playing like a low level campaign like that, like if you're doing Dragon Heist or something, so you're only going to like level 5. Level 3, you're getting the different kind of punches and stuff.
Mhm.
Like it's cool. I think right off the bat, I think it's great. I just think it turns into kind of a turd.
What do you think, Wally?
I've never played a monk. I've never really created a monk before, and I did go through this, and I did get quite excited about the earlier level features, but then I was afraid I was reading it wrong when you got to the higher levels, and evidently I wasn't. They are kind of terrible, but I can see a lot of this on flavor thematic character build, because I am going to make one of these, and it is going to be a kobold, and I think that would be a lot of fun, because kobolds love dragons, they worship dragons, all this other stuff. And now I'm going to have a kobold that's actually going to breathe fire at some point and have all these draconic features. But unfortunately, with my experience, I don't have a lot with monks. But I mean, I much prefer the Drake Warden. But I mean, early levels, this looks fun to play.
Yeah.
And that's what I put in my video too, is that the subclass is still viable. It's actually still a lot better than a lot of the early monk subclasses that were introduced. I think obviously the one that's going to beat out is Open Hand, because that is like your go-to base monk if you want to just be like Street Fighter Ryu, or you want to go Goku, you go Sun Soul. But like other than that, it's just the fact that it doesn't use key for its base features. That you get free uses, and then you can spend key if you're out of your free uses. But most of the time,
those are some heavy costs.
But at the same time, is like if you look at, I know, shout out to Indestructible Boy and his Discord. Some of the designers there broke down the math and were showing it, and obviously it does not stack up to Burning Hands or any like fire or Dragon Breath weapon at relatively same level. But you're still doing a decent amount of damage to multiple creatures, which the monk has a problem doing. In general, they're a striker. They go in and hit one person. Oh wow, Sanctimus with the $20. Thank you. He is saying, Dragon, the word inspires thoughts and power, might, grandeur, primal magic, and cunning intellect. This monk subclass aspires none of these. Just a big letdown. Oh, honestly, I get why people are upset. Mechanically, I'm okay with it, but yeah, as soon as you get into those last features, like it is a bit of a letdown. You don't feel powerful, and I think it's the same thing with Oath of the Glory Paladin. What I saw from Theros, they nerfed the aura, and they nerfed a lot of the later level features. They're getting too afraid, and that's when the part where you should just be okay with kind of going nuts, especially on martial characters.
Yeah,
because they got to keep up with spellcasters.
Strongly agree. Whenever I'm looking at making something for those high levels, like especially 17 and up, like let it go absolutely bananas. Because we've all heard it, like 99% of people are never going to get to there, right?
Yeah.
And if they do, like you're fighting absurdly powerful monsters. That it's okay. Like you can, as the DM, you can probably hold your own pretty well against these characters.
And you're competing with like characters that have like wish, they can just cast wish. It's like, I'm gonna just give my monk blind sight to 10 feet. Not a field dragon.
I'm not trying to be the item guy here, but I love that the new dragon is a dragon hide belt, dragon leather belt for the monks. That's fantastic. Yeah. So just like that bow, if I make it a monk now, I'm gonna tell DM, don't give me anything else. Just give me this one. That key save boost thing to help with that wisdom. Excellent.
And the way you can reflavor that too, I mentioned it in my Discord because they brought it up, and I finally got to read it. I used to do martial arts from like when I was 4 to like 15 years old. So what it reminded me was because you go as you progress, obviously you get different colored belts. Well, they have it so that you have uncommon, rare, and very rare. And then I think well, +1, +2, +3. You can reflavor each tier as different colors. So like you're growing in ranks. So that'd be cool. It's like you have like a level progression. Like this monk is like training. Obviously, he starts off with a white belt of nothing, and then eventually grows into like a black belt or a red belt, and that's the level 3. Oh, that'd be cool flavor you can add it into that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Let me ask you too something. Is this a multi-class possibility since the later levels are so terrible? Is there any consideration there? Or?
I always struggle with multi-classing a monk. Like what? Like where do you go? A rogue, a fighter?
I think
I've never played a monk.
monks is just super hard to multi-class, but it won't necessarily be a bad thing. I think going just to level 4, just so you can get your ASI, but then maybe going into fighter and then just still doing the whole pretty much take the unarmed fighting style and just go battle master. But the fact that I think unarmed strikes get alter the damage type will still function with that.
You're delaying that extra attack feature so long if you do that though.
Yeah, that's the only thing. But I think you would have to go at least 5 monk just so you get your extra attack, and then but then going fighter the rest of the way.
Yeah, you're level 5 already. Yeah.
But I would still go fighter the rest of the way, because I think once you get the fighter kit after the monk, it's just better for you. Like it's just in the long run, it's better for you.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, go for him.
Okay.
I see one I like in there.
Yeah. SWAT Cat, thank you for jumping in, buddy. When you said, Eric, when do you think we will see the skill of the way the Bannerhob monk? There we go.
So if y'all don't know, we love here at Fried Minis, we love Banderhobs. We're currently celebrating Banderhobtober. It's the last day. We're doing a painting contest. You can win a miniature market gift card. It's overall at discord.gg/friedminis, all the details over there. And we're also giving away a bunch of free homebrew type stuff. So we've got a Path of the Banderhob Barbarian. We have a Banderborn playable race. And I suspect at some point we will have subclass Banderhob themed subclasses for all of them. I don't know. I'm not committing to that, but I expect to expand at least. And we even have magic items. So thanks, SWAT Cat.
The magic items are actually really, really fun. If you guys haven't gone to Eric's Discord, it's a very, very great, fun Discord. Awesome community there. I'm in there, and I'm going to rub it in because I know Julie's in the chat right now. I am the #1 ranked chatter in the Discord.
She just got home. She went to Target, so she's here.
Okay, but definitely a fun community. Go check out the Banderhob. All the stuff Eric's producing there is fun. Like it's super, super fun. I really love the tooth Banderhob tooth item that you did.
Yeah.
Speaking of more homebrew and people and other fun friends that are developing stuff. If you look in the description below for this, Rich Mary is developing a bunch of subclasses. And since we're talking about dragons, he offered the first 10 people that click that link get the Dragon Warlock Patron for free. So he developed a Dragon Warlock Patron. Ooh. There's a link in the description. The first 10 get access to it. Again, thank you, Rich, for offering that for us. And definitely go check out all of his subclasses. They're really, really fun and flavorful. I think the fairy subclass he developed for the sorcerer, I believe, is probably one of my favorites he's done. So yeah, definitely go check it out. First 10, get it. Oh, Julie's got fighting words for me.
Yeah.
She says, while you guys are in here, I'm going to the Discord and boost my points.
Yeah.
All right. So cool. Since we're already talking about magic items, let's jump into it. Favorites, things that stand out, or even ones that you think people are overlooking.
Ooh. Well, the flail of Tiamat, I love the idea of it because that takes me back to Baldur's Gate 2 with the flail of ages, which was a very similar flail. Each head did an extra point of different types of damage. So I was a fan of that as soon as I saw it. But the bow we already talked about, the belt. I think I love those scaling kind of items. You know, like we've got the Wand of the War Mage and the Warlock one. I think we should have something like this for all classes.
Yeah,
that's kind of a scaling type of thing. Like imagine if there was a rogue one that gave an extra D6, 2d6, 3d6 to sneak attack or something.
Ooh.
You go. I could get behind that. That's nice.
Yeah. I don't know what you do for fighter though.
For me, there's a couple stood out. I gotta agree with Eric though. I mean, the Dragon Wing Bow is probably my favorite magic item in here. I absolutely love this one for the flavor. I thought the Gold Canary figurine was really, really interesting. Could be a lot of fun. The fact I immediately thought of a Chocobo from Final Fantasy.
Oh yeah,
right, where you can summon this giant canary and ride it. That's all I seen was Cloud from Final Fantasy VII on a Chocobo. And then the other thing is the Ruby Weave Gem, just more for its just for its usefulness. It's a spell casting focus, but at the end, when you finish a long rest, you can pick a spell from any spell list. You can have that for the next day. I think that's very resourceful. So those are three that I really liked.
Yeah, the Ruby Weave Gem, I definitely could see that on like a Genie Warlock.
Like
yeah. This, you give that to the patron, gives that as like a gift and be like, oh, here's your little wish gem. Go have fun. You know, I think the one that stands out for me, because it's like the only legitimate firearm in the game now, is the Topaz Annihilator. That thing is dumb.
No, it's very powerful.
Yeah, it's very, very powerful. It's a legendary weapon. It's a firearm, so I want to say it's the first official one, because they have firearm rules in the Dungeon Master's Guide, but like they're optional. And this is the first one that says, nope, here's a gun. Here's a good old firearm. This thing has a 100 foot long range, normal range of 100 feet and a long range of 300 feet, and it deals 2d6 necrotic damage. But if it reduces the creature to 0 hit points, they are turned to dust. So yeah, this is ridiculous.
And it can cast Disintegrate.
Yeah,
I was gonna say, are you gonna stop there? Because
Disintegrate. Not only can it do Disintegrate, it can cast Disintegrate.
A ray gun.
It's a ray gun. It's good. I'd say, like, if you're gonna, especially that Spelljammer UA that they're put around the corner, it's perfect for games like that. Or if you are trying to introduce maybe like Mind Flayers or other aberrations that are coming out from the Far Realms, this is like perfect to just kind of throw in. I can see a legion of GIF rocking these.
I really like that it has its set DC for Disintegrate, because imagine you're a fighter or something with that, or even a ranger, and you're like, oh, here's my DC 15 at level 20 or whatever. So
that DC is high too. It's like 18.
Yeah.
I do like the fact that, I mean, all through this book, that they're not afraid to go big on some of this stuff. I mean, they're just this, like, what's the biggest, baddest magic item you got? What's the biggest, baddest dragon you got? I mean, they just go for it.
300 foot cone.
It's like,
no, it's great. That's a great point. I totally agree with it. Just the boldness of this book, I think, is a good feature.
All right. And then we also got more spells. How are you guys feeling on these spells? Which one sticks out to you that you think either people should use or should avoid?
I think they're generally all good. I really love the idea of a Chardalon Stride. I think that's such a, not having a DC or not having a save against the damage, I think is really interesting. And it's only 1d6, right? But it scales pretty well. And you're getting a ton of extra speed out of that. And no opportunity tag. I think it's a really cool spell. And it's 3rd level spell slot, so it's a heavy investment. But imagine you've got that ruby item, right?
Yeah.
So you can cast it at 9th level. And so how much damage is that doing when you're running around hitting stuff?
Okay. Yeah.
A lot.
Not a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, and I also really like Fizban's Platinum Shield. I know that's not going to be like the best universal spell ever, but if you're fighting a dragon in particular, like that's going to be clutch for a lot of people.
Yeah, the one that stuck out for me, obviously, I think everybody's been talking about it. It is, where is it at? It's the ice breath spell. Oh, Rhymes Binding Ice.
Oh yeah.
I think now that at a lower level, that's probably one of the better spells to grab. It just gives you so much utility and crowd control off that thing. Like you're doing 3d8 cold damage and in a 30-foot cone, so it's already better than Burning Hands and then Dragon Breath because they only reach up to 15 feet. You're getting a good spread on creatures, but then they're stuck. Their speed is reduced to 0. They're frozen in place. Get your Mr. Freeze on with this thing.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah, it finally like. And that's what one thing I noticed with a lot of the ice and cold mechanics. They don't necessarily give you that feeling like you're actually holding them in place. You're freezing them. And this is the first spell that actually nails it.
Yeah, you want to play a little World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
Cold spells.
Yeah. And the other one I saw that I'm glad that they actually put it in was Summoning Draconic Spirit because it was in that big summon UA. And then all of a sudden it never made the cut for Tasha's. So I'm like, oh man, they just dropped it. They just didn't put it in
that
there.
AC is absurd on that thing.
It's
Starting out at 19, right?
Yeah, because it's
yeah,
14 plus level of the spell, which would be a 5th level spell, so it's a 19 AC. Yep.
That's crazy. I'm really loving the summon spells. I just want to build a character that all they do is cast conjure and summon spells. It just seems like a lot of fun. I think they're a great inclusion.
Yeah, I think it's a lot better than the summon 20 small things, like just for real life play.
Yeah.
Like mechanically, yeah, action economy, you want as many things as possible, even if they're weak, but it's not fun.
Yeah, I think the only advantage is like for the mass conjure spells is like if you're playing online because you can just press the button and it just rolls everything for you.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
So for me, there's a couple spells that really stood out, and I'm going to go along with Eric on this one again. Is the the Stride?
Yeah,
a Stride.
So when I did that Drake Warden build, I was trying to look for a 3rd level spell, and I'd never seen this one before. And in fact, I didn't even realize it was from the book because I was creating the character on D&D Beyond. I selected it, and then when I was doing a review for this, I was like, oh, snap, it's in here. And I think this is absolutely great for getting away. Again, the Drake Warden Ranger that I have planned is a Topaz Dragonborn. So at 5th level, they get that ability to fly. And since that ability to fly uses your walking speed, so if you've got this Stride, you can cast that as a bonus action, I believe. And you get that extra 20 feet of movement, so it gives you 55 feet of movement, and you could use your wings, your spectral wings, at some point to fly with that 55 thing. So I think that's good. I think it's a great way. I'm always on the lookout for, like, my archers and my spellcasters, a good way to get out of melee combat. And this one fits the bill. And it's a ranger spell, which is good. I mean,
agreed. Appreciate that.
And the other spell that really stood out to me, which I just think's a lot of fun, is Nether's Mischief.
Oh,
it's a second level illusion spell. And I mean, if you wanted to build like a really good chaos build, you could go with like the wild magic sorcerer and stuff, and you could include spells like this. But all 4 of these, well, at least 3 out of the 4 of these abilities are just hilarious. I mean, there's like drops of molasses in a cube. You create an effect that smells like apple pie. There's a bouquet of flowers, and the characters giggle. I mean, I just think this spell here is absolute fun. It's just like I'll have like my D4 in my hand just ready to roll every time.
I think that's one of the probably would replace Web maybe as my number 1 2nd level spell after invisibility.
Of course. Well, I'm a Misty Step fan, so I got.
Oh, sure. You're right.
It's down
I meant like a crowd control type of thing, but I didn't say that.
Yeah, there's Mischief. I can even see that, like, if you're just not even just wild magic sorcerer, you're just playing a fairy or some sort of fae character. Just throwing it on their spell list is like, oh, this is just my connection to the fae. Here's this, or even taking with this. Oh, okay, no, I don't think it would be on the Fae Touched. I think since it's illusion, I don't think it's on there. I think is that with the feet. Oh, actually, no, you can't take it with Fae Touch either way. It's 2nd level. But yeah, like if you're able to get access to a 2nd level spell with like some sort of Fae theme feat, I think this is like perfect to just throw on your character.
I would love to see this turned into like a grenade, so you could just like throw those effects around. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
I like spells like this.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun.
That'd be a good way to upgrade the artificer, the alchemist artificer. Give him a grenade with this spell.
Yeah. I'm really happy with all these spells. But one thing on the psychic lance, right?
Yeah.
Upcasting that's the worst. I think the single worst upcasting. You can, if you use a 5th level or higher slot, you can increase the damage by 1d6.
Yeah.
Like who's using a 5th level spell slot to gain an extra 1d6 damage?
Yeah. Well, it does 76 already. Like, yeah, you're not gonna want to put more in investment because
Yeah.
I think already.
I think it's fine as a 4th level. It's just upscaling it is.
Yeah, because I think fireball is fireball, and I think it already outscales this one.
Well,
Yeah.
You're giving me a face on this one. Why should we upcast Raoul's psychic lance?
You know, one of my favorite things to do with these verbal component only spells is the sorcerer's subtle spell meta magic.
Yeah.
I love Mind Sliver with that, where you can just look at somebody and just do damage to them. Now with this Psychic Lance, you can do that 7d6 at Psychic without, nobody would even know you're doing it. You could just be sitting in the back corner of a bar and you use your subtle spell meta magic for sorcerer. Just mind blast these people. I love it. It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rich makes a point too. This is a good spell for enemies, not just characters. Wouldn't be.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Don't forget about enemy spellcasters, definitely.
Julie says never send a pilot to do crowd control. She loves dropping Battlestar Galactica references.
Oh man, it's been a while since I've seen BSG.
Yeah.
All right, so this book has a ton of ways to incorporate roleplay and actually reward it, and rewarding story beats for dragons. So we get horde magic items, where not only do they give you like some sort of magic item as a reward, but there's incentive to roleplay in a certain way to power these up. So you get mechanical benefits. Obviously, there is also the draconic gifts, which are feat-like features. But I want to say they're more of a DM rewarding tool to follow through as a roleplay. And then obviously there's a big section on dragons in play, which goes over role playing every single thing. How do you like these sections in the book, and especially these monster supplements? Do you think this stuff like horde magic items are probably some of the coolest things I've seen that really encourage role playing, like in getting, like you can do an entire like mini plot just regarding the players finding a horde item and then needing to get to the next story beat to power this thing up.
Yeah, I love the whole idea of horde items. I think it's bananas that there isn't an armor option. I think that's nuts. But I really like the idea that you can reflavor these so they're not just dragon hordes too. So like if you have a like a mummy tomb, you could have an undead horde item. And I feel like this mechanic is cool and it's relatively easy to create for. So to homebrew your own horde items with their own flavor, I think it's pretty interesting.
I'm always a huge fan of weapons or items that can scale, and they have the slumbering, which is the uncommon, the stirring, which is rare, wakened, which is very rare, and then ascendant, which is legendary. The fact that you could go back and infuse these with more magic and they retain the previous abilities, those are some of my favorite ways to develop magical items. So I was really glad to see that. As far as the role playing in this book, though, and like all that section and everything, it reminds me a lot of the book. The monsters know what they're doing. I mean, it's kind of this entire book is kind of just like a blueprint of everything to do with dragons, and I absolutely love it for it. So.
Yeah, because that's what I'm noticing. Like a lot of a good chunk. Obviously, there's a lot of player options, and the biggest chunk is going to be all your stat blocks. But there's a good section dedicated to roleplay for each of the dragons, and then using certain mechanics like horde magic items and then draconic gifts to encourage players and DMs to weave a story and roleplay and reward them mechanically that I haven't really seen too much in other books. I think the Theros and the Ravnica books, they have the pretty much the roleplay tools to encourage like factions. So Ravnica has the guilds, so leveling throughout and interacting with your guild, and then Theros has your gods with a piety system. But other than that, I think Ebron had the
Yeah.
group patron, and then everything kind of just fell off. You don't really get
I
much of
I
that
was really
stuff.
impressed that they came up with all those tables for every single kind of dragon.
Was
Like that,
impressive.
I was blown away. Like even down to having those maps and those layers. I was really, really impressed with that. And I in one of my videos, I was like, well, we should like people want dragon themed subclasses. Why don't we just get dragon themed subclasses for every class? And the most common answer of no is, well, Wizards of the Coast, they would just be popping these out and they'd all be the same, and there wouldn't be any variety. But then I point to something like these tables, like, I mean, that's pretty dry content, right?
Yeah.
But like in theory, but each of those you build these really, really great personalities, like the Topaz Dragon. I did a video with the Topaz Dragon. I didn't know anything about Topaz Dragons, but now after going through all that, I feel like I know Topaz Dragons, and they're very different than lots of other dragons. So I don't know. I trust if Wizards can handle breaking those out, they can handle subclasses.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Actually, that brings me to the other thing. You did a whole video on this. There was a small little table section that discusses how to reflavor dragon options, um, and how to reflavor base subclasses or any of the subclasses, any of the books, and make them draconic. I did a whole live stream on this, specifically giving people different ideas. But then Wizards officially puts it in a book, and I think this is the first time they've actually done something like this, right? Draconic character types. Yeah, here it is. It's on page 17 for those. If you guys have the book already, you guys can follow along. Draconic character types. It's on page 17. There's a D10 table that goes over which classes have certain ties. You can kind of reflavor them, right? I don't know how I feel about that. Like, I like it when they obviously. My channel's really built on trying to reflavor stuff and reflavoring it and finding different ways to play them in different settings, or just take the mechanics and change it to do something else. So for me, part of me is like, oh, this is cool. But then at the same time, why don't you just give players the option? Like, your job is to create stuff so players can use. If there's a demand for draconic options, especially player options, why don't you just build them? Like,
that was my most downvoted or controversial video ever. Because my point is, like, that table is awesome and that table is great, and I would love to see that kind of a table for every single book that comes out. Even adventure books, like how to flavor things like that. My problem is when that's the sole official answer, right? So if that was in addition to having subclass options for each of these classes, or if those were even already published, like let's say we've already had dragon themes, so we want to just expand on it. Like, that's great. This table is awesome for that. The problem is when the official solution is, oh, no, just go reflavor it. That I don't care for.
I have a feeling about this, Wally.
I'm gonna be honest. I skipped that page, but I can. I got. It's all how you see as a player, how you see your character in your head. If you have this affinity for dragons, and let's say you wanted to play a sorcerer, and if I were to pick the most, other than the draconic sorcerer itself, if I were to pick one of the other subclasses, maybe like the shadow sorcerer, and I wanted to play like some type of a shadow dragon sorcerer, I mean, it's cool that they leave that open-ended. They're at least saying, there's a couple of subclasses, and if you want to go do this yourself, you can. It does stink not to have some examples. Like Eric said there, to have at least one of each subclass and then go build your own. Provides an example. I mean, it's just like traps in the Dungeon Master's Guide. They're like, hey, this is how you build traps. Here's some examples. So you kind of know how to do it, and gives you that extra help. But yeah, I think I'm done stumbling through that answer because, like I said, I skipped that section.
Yeah, Wally, my concern is, so if the official answer is just reflavor it, then that original, and again, it's strictly because this is the official response, the sole official response, right? Then all mechanics then lose their tie to flavor. Like, and again, this is a thought exercise, so if you don't care, tune out for 2 seconds. But like the next step on that could be, okay, so for future editions of D&D, you have, you pick a class, you pick a warlock, right? And then at levels 1, 2, and 3 or whatever, you can pick options A, B, and C. And then there are just all those options, and the flavor is entirely on you. So you can flavor it however you want. And it's all pick and pluck and build your own custom class kind of thing, when that flavor isn't tied to mechanics anymore, or the mechanics not tied to the flavor.
Yeah,
Good
because they can
point.
just introduce like, oh, hey, here's a set of fire features that you can pick up if you're a sorcerer, wizard, whatever. But they're not tied to dragons, phoenixes, or any other thing. There's just fire abilities. It's your job to do it. Your job to figure out if you want to be a fire draconic sorcerer or a phoenix sorcerer or wizard.
Yeah. And so have those
Well,
tables for people that want to do something like that, for the people that want to take that step of reflavoring, but also have the actual mechanical options for people that do want to play it kind of straightforward.
I guess it would take away some of the excitement of new stuff for me if they're just like giving you a bunch of options to use, like like emptying a Legos.
Yeah.
So there you
No,
go.
I agree.
Yeah.
I don't want that. Yeah.
Steven Harris said giving players permission to change the flavor of things is great because some people need that permission. Using that permission is an excuse to not put in the work for something highly wanted, not so much. Yeah, and I think that's where we're all kind of agreeing on is like, give us it's their job to give us the option. Obviously, subclass features and any sort of player option, it's there to enforce a certain narrative fantasy, a character fantasy. So we want to see that, and we want them to do that. That's why a lot of people in general homebrew, because they don't feel like the base options or reflavoring it is enough. They want to be able to have like a draconic fighter, draconic paladin, or as Rich again plug. Rich made a draconic warlock patron. So go if you want it. The first 10 people click the link in the description, they will get it. But yeah, you see that, and that's why they want it, because there's a lack of support that they feel that is not in the game. And if Wizards simply just starts to, well, just reflavor this, and that actually give us the mechanics to do it. And honestly, I kind of feel they did that a little bit. There is a demand for draconic options, and then their excuse, they did an interview with Todd Kendrick. Jeremy Crawford said, well, they didn't do a druid one because they felt it stepped too much on the toes of the draconic sorcerer, because the draconic sorcerer is supposed to be able to change into a dragon. But at the same time, like a druid that is part of the land, and then there's a dragon that isn't reinforcing the land. That's a cool character fantasy that would be awesome to play, and being able to just transform into a dragon or take on draconic qualities. I don't think it steps on the draconic sorcerer a little too like at all.
So what I know I've talked a lot about this, but I want to give one example from Splinterverse's book, or DM's Guild supplement, Fizban's Vault of Draconic Secrets. So they have subclasses for everything, and one that I talk a little bit in tomorrow's video for my channel is the Bard College of Wealth. So it's built around collecting wealth and like being able to detect hordes and stuff like that. And so it might be a little specific for some campaigns, and then like you can get a spellcasting focus that the more valuable that gem or coin or artwork is, the stronger. So kind of you can add like a +1 to your spell save DCs and stuff like that. So you can have dragon adjacent things. It doesn't, like, you don't have to have everything turn into a dragon. You don't have to have everything breathing fire and growing wings. Like, it can be related, but you can also, like that wealth thing, like you can flavor out the dragon stuff and just have it kind of, you're like a greedy bard. Like, that's cool. But it doesn't have to literally be, oh, you turn into a dragon, to be a dragon themed, dragon flavored subclass.
Really like the idea of that subclass. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Let me pose a question to the two of you real quick. Because I didn't really pay attention to a lot of the Unearthed Arcana that came out. Number one, is there some that didn't make it in the book? And number two, do you think this is the last time we're going to see dragon subclasses, or do you think that they could shoehorn them in future books?
For the UA, for the UA, everything made it. So they only had 2 dragon subclasses. I'm pretty sure the only thing out of that UA that didn't make it was the kobold. And they're saving it for something else. That's already been hinted at. It's not that it's dead. They're just saving it for something else. So who knows that is.
Yeah. And for the could dragon themed things classes show up in the future? Like, yeah, of course they could, but how, like, it doesn't feel good. Okay, I want to play a dragon thing, right? I'll go buy the dragon book. Oh, but I have to go buy this other book to play the dragon paladin or whatever. Like that. It's just, it doesn't feel good. So yes, they could show up, but I don't like
That's
it. They just,
that's kind of the way I'm thinking too. Is this is probably the last time we'll see dragon related stuff for a while, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, for me, I think this was a big missed opportunity on Watti's part. It's like my only big criticism of the book of giving or maybe fixing, powering up the draconic sorcerer, adding variant features for specifically that subclass. Was the first dragon flavored subclass in the game, and there was a good opportunity of them just taking this book and be like, oh, cool, here's the big selling point, dragons, and oh, hey, here's the fix for the sorcerer, for the draconic sorcerer.
Nice.
It's in the dragon book.
That's one of my favorites too. So I wish they would have done that.
Yeah, and it would have just, that alone would have just had people buying it regardless, you know. And like, it's not like the other two subclasses are bad; they're good. But if you would have, and then all the dragons are fun, which actually I'm gonna jump into now. Favorite dragons, hands down. Like, what do you guys see yourself running in actual games?
Topaz. That I'm sold on Topaz Dragons being the coolest. They're like typically chaotic neutral. They hate fighting bronze dragons. They live out by the sea, but they on the coast, but they want to keep all their stuff dry. They want to build these huge collections of things, but they never want people to come over and touch them and look at them. I just I think that it's a really cool, and they have like cold and necrotic, so it's like this weird mixture that it's very interesting to me.
What about you, Wally? What dragon was like, yep, I'm running this?
Nothing really new for me. I've always been a fan of the silver dragon, just because it seems like the silver dragon is the it kind of takes the role of the Dungeons and Dragons cartoon, the Dungeon Master, who I still swear might be a silver dragon in that cartoon. You never know, but it's just like it could be this helpful person that they meet from level 1, and kind of they go, the adventurers or your players' characters go to seek advice from time to time. Maybe it gives them quests or whatever, and then at some point you can reveal that they're actually a silver dragon. Just like the fact that they promote good, they want to see good things happen, they integrate well, they're very sociable, they spend a lot of time in human form, and I think role play wise, that is my favorite dragon. But I had a hard time choosing between that and the black dragon, which I just absolutely love for the whole undead feel. So my favorite villain would be a black dragon, but to play and to role play and include in a campaign, silver.
Yeah. That artwork for the black dragon, the black great worm, I think that might be my single favorite dragon art in that book.
Nice.
I think for me, I can't get it out of my head. It's the Elder Brain Dragon. Like I want either I want to fight it, I want to fight it, or I want to just throw it at my players and just be like, yeah, it's there. Go for it. Just figure it out. Just drop it. I think though, for me, I'm gonna show it. It's the Draco Hydra too. I think this is like a good little bait and switch you can do against players that they think they're gonna fight Tiamat and early level, and then you just drop a Draco Hydra on them.
Josh.
Yes,
I'm a player in your game. I want to play Drake Warden. I want to have a Elder Brain Dragon themed Drake. What do you do?
Pretty much. We'll reflavor all the damage abilities to limit them to like force and psychic.
Oh, I can't turn people into mind flayers.
No, that would be like later on. Later on, you'd get that. I
don't get that at 3. What?
Oh no. We'll probably like what I would probably do is change it so that you get the flight early on, but like your big level is you get that breath weapon that turns into Ceramorphosis, man. You just spreading worms everywhere. But then I would probably play with the idea of maybe you might be turning to throw that in there. Yeah.
I saw you playing BG3 last night.
Yeah, I was continuing. I'm running I'm playing through the Sorcerer because that's the only time I've gotten to play. Sanctimus with another $20. Thank you, buddy. Thank you. Saying Red Great Worm has charisma of 29 or 9+. Using the rules in the DMG, it can cast 9th level spells once per day. Ooh. I'm just gonna be casting Wish.
Yeah. Well, yeah. All the Great Worms can, if you use the same DMG or monster. I think it's actually the monster manual rules for dragons, where it's a third because they're CR 27, right? So that gets you down to 9th level spells.
Okay.
Yeah.
Big question. Then we're gonna start getting close to wrapping this up. Big question. What tool or section are people overlooking? You feel that they should it's actually more helpful than just the monster stats and the players and the player options. Because flipping through the book, I'm still reading through this book because I only got it I think on Friday. I got it like Thursday or Friday, something like that. So I haven't really had a lot of time to really sit through and flip through it. But I noticed there's just a lot of tools in there that are just super good to develop stories and how to run the dragons and create plots and develop layers for that. So what tools do you think people are sleeping on or sections of the book that they should actually keep their eye on?
I know we just talked about reflavoring, but for me, my answer would be the book itself, not applying it strictly to dragons. Like building out those traits, building out the layers, building out how they interact with creatures around them, using all of those kind of tools on other important monsters or like your BBEG in your game, using these kind of using it like a checklist or a template of here's what you need to build a robust creature. I think is my real takeaway from this book.
What about you, Wally?
As far as skipped over sections and things, the last part I kind of came back to was the layers. And I really like these for adventure ideas of what type of environment may a campaign or a game go to, and if you want to include a dragon, you just kind of thumb through and see, okay, mountain area, desert areas, seashore, whatever it is, find that dragon, and then kind of you get an example of what this layer may be, or maybe it's an abandoned layer that your adventurers have to explore. I mean, you can pretty much take the maps out of here, and you've got a 1 or 2 game session of exploring these areas, and I really found whole layer section of how each dragon has their stuff set up. I really found it fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I like that it even recommends scaling the map size. So if it's a wormling, each square is like 5 feet, and then 10 is what it's on the map, and then bigger and bigger. So you have a better sense of scale for the scale.
So
dragon.
yeah, one of the things I found hilarious was the green dragon, where it says they tunnel down through trees into their lair. I was like, how big is this tree?
Yeah.
The dragon can go into this hollow tree and then down into their bat cave or whatever. It's like, holy smokes.
Yeah.
That's good. I agree with both of you guys. I think for me, the big takeaway is like to use this as more of another DM's tool to help you kind of develop villains and their lairs. And even though it's dragon centric, but I think the big meat of this book is this section where they're telling you this is kind of how you run these. This is how you can develop the lair. This is how you can use them for the story, and not necessarily the stats themselves. It's just this nice little meat of the book is pretty much helping you run villains, or not even villains, just NPCs, because like they also go through the good aligned dragons, right? So just how to develop and run these NPCs so that you can have just a better story, like a stronger story, with giving these characters a lot of motivation.
I would also advise too, real quick, that if you are a player, to get this book, because not only does it have options in here, your feats, your subclasses, your races, but go through the dragons. If you're going to play a dragonborn, maybe you take on some of those personalities of that type of dragonborn. So if you're a Topaz Dragonborn, flip through there, read about the Topaz Dragon. Maybe you'll find a few character traits or quirks that will help you role play your character. So I think this dragon is magnificent for players as well as DMs. I mean, to just go through the whole thing.
That's a great point. Yeah. And if you can't pick up the whole book, but your DM does, maybe ask just to take a look at that section for that relevant dragon type.
Next question, missed opportunities. What do you think, or is the part where they either left something out or they kind of just stumbled upon? They just dropped it. They fumbled the ball.
Subclasses, armor, horde items, cleric spells.
Go. I think we already touched on it. Missing a few subclasses. Also, the kobold not being involved. But for me, for me as a dungeon master, I kind of wish they would have put all of the dragon stat blocks in here from the monster manual. I
The
know it'd be
original,
I know it'd be a reprint, but then I'd have all of them together. The fact that I have to have both books now for the dragons, the monster manual, and this, so I wish they would have put all the dragons in there.
That's a good point. And I've heard people say, well, it would make it too thick to do that. And then, or if we added the subclass, it would make it too thick. But this, if you're going to make any book like extra large, like this is the one to do it, I think. Like,
I do too.
go wild.
Yeah, for me, it's not having additional subclasses. A Draconic Warlock is like perfect. And again, plug. Rich is giving out one. Get it. It's for free, the first 10 people. But yeah, a Draconic Warlock and the Sorcerer, just variant options to fix that subclass to get it up to par with the Aberrant Mind and the Clockwork Soul Sorcerer. Like, get it up to par with those. Pretty much just giving them pretty much a basic spell list based off of all the other dragons, and they can even add in maybe the gem dragons if they wanted to add more variant features to that thing. Other than that, I'm perfectly satisfied with the book. There's a lot of stuff, like, I'm relatively novice DM, so like for me it's like looking at this stuff, I'm like, oh, I'm running Avernus, so I'm trying to find ways to throw dragons at them now, just because there's a lot of nice little tools.
Ghost Dragon.
Yeah, nice little tools in here that I'm like, oh, I just want to run it and not wait for a campaign to actually do it.
Yeah. I know we've been pretty critical of the book, but overall, I think this is a great book. I think it's a better book for DMs overall than for players, but I'm very satisfied with this book.
I absolutely love it. Yeah.
All right, I got two more questions. One is, what other books like this do you want to see? What other monsters do you think should get this sort of treatment? So we got a dragon book. In the past, we've got the Necronomicon, the undead book, right? But what other monsters do you think should get this treatment for 5th edition?
Vanderhobbs, Vanderhobicon. But Fae, I think Fae would be robust enough to support something like this. Like, I think it'd be cool to see like Mind Flayers too, but how deep, expansive can you get with that? I don't know, but I think Fae would be a pretty easy.
I didn't know there was a necro comic, the undead book.
Yeah.
But that would have been my first choice. I would love to see a full manual, and if we're getting that, then great. Then that's awesome, because that's still going to be my answer. Yeah, undead.
Yeah, I think undead should get the treatment. I think devils, demons, and celestials. You do a
choice as well.
Yeah, you do a book like that, especially like to help fill out Avernus, because there isn't a lot of devils and demons. Like, we've had like little sprinkles of them in like Mordecanians and Volos, but there isn't. I don't feel there isn't enough still, with the amount that they have in there, enough variety to really like fill out the ranks, to really feel, because else you're going to be running like Barb Devils and Chain Devils like consistently, and Vrox, and all these other demons. Especially when I'm trying to like diversify, in my Avernus game, trying to diversify combat a little bit, but it's like, well, here's another Chain Devil, here's another Barb. So I think devils, demons, and angel celestials have a good opportunity to expand on.
I see in the chat elementals. That would be an interesting one too.
Would be. Oh, speaking of elementals, what do you think of that animated dragon breath that's in the bestiary? So it forms like little elementals from a dragon's breath. I thought that was creative.
Yeah, it reminds me of Eberron, because there's living spells. So they have living spell monsters, so it reminded me of that, and that was like, oh, it's sweet that they're bringing that out of Eberron into like other games. Rich said he wants to see a full manual for Magic the Gathering monsters. Actually, as a Magic the Gathering fan, I would love to see that. Yeah.
I would too. Yeah, I was going to make a Magic the Gathering comment, but I wasn't going to, but now I am. So the sorcerer that Josh was talking about is like the equivalent of white in Magic the Gathering. they just never seem to get the good stuff.
Yeah. Oh man, poor white. It's rough.
Yeah, MTG, I could get behind that.
Yeah, I love it. Even if they collected just most of the stuff from the other books and just put them into one monster book with some Magic flavored stuff, I would like to see that. All right, so the last question, it's two-part really, but it's the same question. Do you recommend this book for players, and do you recommend this book for DMs? I know Wally's already touched on it.
Yes, for players, but it wouldn't be my first pick for players. And then absolutely for DMs.
If you're a player, you're going to want to pick out the Player's Handbook, the Xanathar's Guide, Tasha's
Gosh, yeah.
Cauldron, things like that. But don't overlook this, especially if you have a love for dragons and you're a player. Like I said, pick up the book, play one of the subclasses in there, go through, learn about the dragons. I mean, it's just fun reading, even if you're not going to, even if you're just a player, just go through and read. As far as the Dungeon Master goes, this is an encyclopedia of dragons. I love how the bestiary doesn't just have big dragons to run.
Yes.
There's challenge rating levels. Those what are they? The scarabs or whatever, the horde scarabs that are like a half a challenge rating. So it was nice. I mean, this is a decent bestiary. It by itself, I put it up there with Volos and Mordenkainens as far as monsters are concerned. So yeah, it's an absolute must for DMs.
Yeah, I was iffy on for the players because it just like the Feywild book, I didn't recommend it for players. I was just like, you're not going to need the other tools for it because, and at least Witchlight, because you're only there for the race options. If your DM's running it, somebody in the group will have it, so just borrow it off of them and use the options. I'm in the same boat for players on that end too. It's not a must-have book, but if your DM or somebody else in the party has the book and you want to play these draconic options like the new Dragonborn, unfortunately we didn't really get to touch on those, but I have a video on it. Eric on Prime Minis have multiple videos on it. And then Wally, you released a build today that has features it, so you can definitely check out our opinions on those there. But even then, most of that stuff will probably get reprinted somewhere. So you're not really gonna have to worry. Whatever next Tasha's, Xanathar's book, those Drake Warden, the dragon classes will be there probably. And I'm pretty sure I would put money down on this that these Dragonborn races will be reprinted in Mordenkainen's Multiverse of Monster book. That
I would expect that too.
I would hope so. Yes.
Yeah, and with D&D Beyond, so if there's just like as a player, if just you want to pick up one of the subclasses or some of the whatever, one of the races, like just do that there, $1.99 or something.
Yeah, and most definitely. For DMs, pick this up. Like it's one of those things. There's just a lot of good tools. I don't think it's not on the list. Obviously, I think Mordenkainen's of Volos and those sort of bigger monster books are a little higher, but like I would put these ahead of the MTG books too. Fizban. I would put them ahead of the MTG books. While the MTG books have really solid tools for like the piety system and the renown system. I think overall, if you're going to be using this Fizbans as a tool to like help develop NPCs and big bad guys and stuff, this gives you the tools that I think sometimes it's missing in the Dungeon Master's Guide. Like they go through layers and they give you pre-made layers. They go through actions and motivations and stuff that I know players have issues with trying to develop backstory. And then if players have it, that means DMs might have it too. And that kind of helps you fill in some stuff.
That's how I feel about Van Richten's Guide. Similar, like it's a under the radar. It's kind of like one of the best how to DM books I think out there.
Yeah, I would actually suggest Van Richten's and Fizban. If you're going to pick up two books, you pick those books up together. If you're DMing, even if you're not.
I'm going to be strange, but I'm going to put them both. I'm going to put them ahead of Volos and Mordenkainen's. I absolutely love Van Richten's and Fizban's. But that's my personal. DMs use books for different reasons. Yeah. So I mean that depends on what you do.
I agree. Stat blocks are always great to have, but I think it's a lot easier sometimes to just reflavor a stat block than it is to understand how to do that reflavoring. And the books like Van Richten's and this teach you the skills to do that reflavoring versus just here are 7 aberrations.
Yeah, and for me, I think the only difference is because all of us are green. If you're DM, you need to get this book. It's more so how are you going to approach it? So like those DMs that struggle or newer DMs that struggle on how to actually develop their enemies and really knowing how to put the combat and encounters together. Van Richten's and Fizban's are both really great at kind of helping you develop. But if you're more experienced DM, while he's on the money, pick up the monster books because you kind of already know what you're doing. You really just need some extra support with these monster stat blocks to really get you the things you're trying or wanting to do already. But either way, definitely pick up Fizban's if you're DM.
Yeah, and mythic actions are back.
Yeah. Oh yeah. All right. Well,
Very happy to see that.
Yeah, really, really happy to see that. Yeah, the mythic stuff from Theros was awesome. I'm glad they're starting to filter that stuff out because it's probably what most unique video gaming but awesome mechanics. That oh yeah, you think you're done? Nope. Round 2, let's go. All right. Okay. Again, I want to say thank you guys for joining me. It is already 12 o'clock Halloween or 12 o'clock here. I know it's a little bit later in the afternoon for both of you. Again, thank you guys for joining me. Where can they find you guys?
Take it, Wally.
First off, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. This was a lot of fun to talk about. And I am Wally DM. You can find me on YouTube. Wally DM. I do puzzles and traps for dungeon masters and some character builds every once in a while for players.
Cool. And I'm Eric from Fry Minis. Join us over at fryminis.com. Check us out, of course, on YouTube, at discord.gg/fryminis, on Twitter, on Instagram, and everywhere. And we like to talk about D&D and minis and how to make your game a more welcoming experience.
All right, thank you guys for joining me. And as always, the best way to support our channels, all these channels, to like, comment, subscribe on every video. It helps YouTube puts our videos out in the algorithm and lets YouTube know that you guys are watching them. Especially since we're all doing the D&D YouTube thing and various different points of view. And if everybody's watching everything together, YouTube realizes that and will share it to everybody that's watching similar stuff. So yeah, it's very important. Like, comment, subscribe. If you want to support us directly, obviously go to any of our Patreons, YouTube memberships. That always helps too. It's always really, really nice. Thank you guys for coming in. I see Rich. Thank you, Rich, SWAT Cat, Steven, Sanctimus, 7-Bit Brian, David. My buddy David was in here. Let's see. Julie's here, but I think she's still posting up a storm in the Discord right now. Jalen Smith. Let's see. I think Shrike. And I think I got everybody again. Next week, I think we're going to be talking about subclasses or classes we didn't like or we played through.
Oh, is that next week?
It might be next week. Okay. Well, I'll figure it out. I think if not, I might do something else. But if I believe I was gonna have Eric on again. I don't know. We gotta figure it out. But maybe I think next week.
Start paying me, dude.
Yeah, we're gonna start. But if not next week, I'll figure it out. But we will figure something out.
Yep.
Well, yeah. Maybe I'll have some more guests on next week. If not, it might just be me talking about something. So yeah, maybe I think one of the plans, if not now, was to talk about classes we've played that everybody thinks that says they're good, but we just did not have a good time with it. So that was one of if that doesn't happen next week, it'll happen relatively soon. So again, I want to say thank you, Wally. Thank you, Eric, for joining me. Check out the channels.
Thank you.
Rich has, again, Dragon Warlock Patron. I'm telling you, first 10 people get it for free. Other than that, you got to pay for it. So go support Rich. Also, another great channel. Go support Shrike, another great channel. Give those guys a follow and go check out their stuff. Again, until next time, you guys have a good one and take care.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for watching.